Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Secretary of State has regular discussions with Cabinet colleagues on a range of topics. In England, we have committed to tackling issues in the private rental sector, including improving standards through the introduction of the Decent Homes Standard and providing tenants greater security by banning no-fault evictions. However, as the Right Honourable Member will know, rental issues in Wales are a matter for the Welsh Government.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Low-quality, expensive private rented accommodation is a problem not only in Wales but throughout the UK. Would the Minister agree with me that we need more council housing built to a high standard? And would he join with me in praising Flintshire County Council for their excellent programme of council house building, which would be an example to the rest of the country, but we need more investment in this area overall?
Well, I thank my right honourable friend for that question. North Wales certainly has a deficit of housing, as do many other areas, and certainly that needs to be addressed through building more homes, as he says. I would point out that in 2021 to 22, there were 3 new homes built in England per 1,000 and just 1.7 per 1,000 in Wales, so there's much work to do.
Jones. Good morning, Mr. Speaker. According to Rent Smart Wales, the number of registered landlords in Wales fell by 328 during the 2 years to January of this year, and there were 301 fewer rental properties available. Does my honourable friend agree that a significant cause of the current worrying state of the private rental market in Wales is the new legislation introduced by the Welsh Government, which imposes expensive and Byzantine licensing obligations on landlords? And does he also agree with the Labour Cabinet Member for Housing on Torfaen Borough Council, Councillor David Daniels, who recently told the Council Scrutiny Committee that the new law was the straw that broke the camel's back because for landlords it's just been one thing too many?
Well, I thank my right honourable friend and constituency neighbour. I think he is perfectly right to raise this issue. He's referring to the Renting Homes Wales Act, and while it may be well-intentioned, the fact of the matter is there's a shortage of housing, and in fact, if you want to keep landlords in the market, you need to incentivise it for them. So the mandatory regulations and costs imposed are really at the wrong time.
Gerald Jones, Shadow Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Private rental costs in Wales increased by 4.2% in the year to February 2023, the highest annual percentage change since the Tories came to power. Whilst the government have accepted the need to uplift benefits in line with inflation, they've completely failed to accept that the same principle should at the very least apply to the local housing allowance. Given that this affects the largest item of a family's budget, can the Minister explain exactly why this is one area of policy where the government do not seem to believe that inflation exists?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. He will be aware that the local housing allowance rates were raised to the 30th percentile in 2020, and that there is also support through the discretionary housing payments scheme. There is, in addition to that, of course, the whole array of support that's been provided through the recent cost of living pressures.
Let's do it. Robbie Moore.
Number 5, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The spring budget delivered for Wales. As announced in the budget, the government will provide £20 million to restore the Holyhead breakwater, will deliver at least one investment zone in Wales, and will provide up to £20 billion for the development of carbon capture, usage and storage across the UK, which Wales is well placed to benefit from.
More.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The UK government proved time and time again that they are delivering for Wales, whether that's through supporting hundreds of thousands of households with the energy price guarantee or the £20 million Holyhead breakwater. However, does my right honourable friend agree with me that Labour Welsh government are advertising Wales as closed for business with its recent ban on road building and tax on tourism?
Well, I couldn't agree more with my honourable friend. The Welsh Government's response to the roads review was more of a road block than a response, and there's been a widespread rejection of the tourism tax from the sector, including from UK Hospitality, who've called it anti-competitive. The contrast between the approaches of the two governments is stark, Mr. Speaker. The UK government is striking trade deals and promoting Britain open for business, while the Welsh Government seems focused on punishing small business owners.
Mr Christopher Bryant.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. A little birdie tells me that the Secretary of State has had a meeting about the Rhondda Tunnel in the last few days, and I'm hoping very much, Mr Speaker, as no doubt are you, that there's going to be some announcement soon of perhaps of some money to make sure that the Rhondda Tunnel can be opened up, making it the second longest cycle tunnel in the whole of Europe and a great advert for tourism in the Welsh valleys. Will he arrange a meeting with me and the member for Aberavon so that we can explain to him the significant benefits that there would be so that he can lobby to get that money for the Rhondda Tunnel?
The Right Honourable Member is right to raise that question. My Right Honourable friend tells me that he would be happy to hold a meeting with the Right Honourable Member. He also adds that Rhondda Cynon Taf Council should be encouraged to put in a levelling up fund bid.
No, Mayo.
Number 6, sir.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I do indeed have discussions with the Welsh Government about the adequacy of Welsh healthcare services, most recently about Betsy Cadwaladr University Health Board being put back into special measures. It should be noted, however, that the Department for Health and Social Care regularly engages and collaborates with the Welsh Government to share best practice on achieving better outcomes for patients UK-wide.
Jerome Mayo.
Mr Speaker, the Secretary of State has just told us that the Welsh Government receives £1.20 in health funding for every pound spent in England. And yet, despite this, the Welsh Government, the only government in the United Kingdom which is actually cutting funding to the NHS. So does my right honourable friend agree with me that the Labour Party has proved incapable in office of running health services?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I do very much share his concern across Wales and especially in North Wales. And yesterday, the latest troubling revelations about Betsy Cadwaladr, we learnt that the First Minister was wrong to state that the Auditor-General had recommended taking the board out of special measures just prior to the devolved elections of 2020. And when it comes to funding, Mr Speaker, Welsh Government may repeatedly call for more money, but they're the only government in the UK to cut health spending. And in the latest budget, they've set out plans to cut day-to-day spending on the delivery of NHS services in real terms this year compared to last, while the UK government's providing a real terms in...
Thank you. Question number 7, sir.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Secretary of State for Wales has regular discussions with the First Minister on how our two governments can work together within the current devolution settlement to deliver for Wales. Our recent agreement to establish 2 Welsh free ports shows what we can achieve when we work together for the benefit of people and communities in Wales.
Rob Roberts.
Thank you. Given that the Senedd only sits for 2 days a week, and if yesterday's reports are anything to go by, the First Minister is less than truthful with his answers anyway, can my honourable friend fathom any reason why they need to expand Senedd membership by 60% at huge cost to the Welsh taxpayer? And does he agree with me that the Welsh people should be asked whether they want more MSs only working 2 days a week?
Well, the honourable member is right to ask that question. I fully agree with him that the last thing people in Wales want is more politicians in Cardiff Bay, and the Welsh Government would be better spending the estimated £100 million that the proposals would cost on public services. So if the Welsh Government and their separatist allies are so confident that these proposals should progress, then I agree they should seek the agreement of people in Wales through a referendum.